Welcome to our Cybertalks interview series. I'm Wyatt Cash on behalf of CyberScoop, and I'm here with Tom Kellermann, Head of Cybersecurity Strategy at VMware. Tom, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So first I'd like to ask, there's been a lot thrown at Chief Information Security Officers in 2020. How would you say 2020 has changed the role of CISOs and where you're coming from?
Well, I feel that now they are far more important to the long-term success of government agencies and corporate entities, as most organizations are beginning to realize that cyberspace is a hostile environment and that security should no longer be viewed as an expense, but rather a functionality of conducting business. That being said, they're overstretched. They are under assault. There's a massive cybercrime wave impacting the US. Even according to the FBI, there's a 400% increase of cyber intrusions this year. It's because COVID in general has really been a boon to criminality and cybercrime as a whole, particularly with the restrictions placed on our physical world. More and more criminals are joining these dark web forums and acquiring attack capabilities like ransomware and are leveraging those attacks against organizations. Lastly, it's compounded by the fact that telework has exacerbated the security posture of most organizations, because these folks were typically more secure when they were using the corporate network in their facilities. Now they're working from home and they're over-relying on VPN tunnels to protect themselves against a very advanced and sophisticated cyber criminal.
Well, next, I'd like to explore a little bit about the distributed workforce. Obviously, workforces have been distributed all over the place. We have access coming from all directions on all kinds of devices. From your perspective, what do you think security leaders may have come away and learned from this massive distribution of workforce? And what other lessons are you seeing out there from your perspective?
I think they've learned that VPNs are not bulletproof. They're not effective in combating today's threats. They also realized that they didn't have enough visibility into those endpoints, those laptops that have been distributed, and their capacity to respond to those malicious attacks against those devices and those environments was limited, compounding the fact that their security operations teams are now virtual themselves, and dramatic increase of cyber attacks has ushered in a new era where I guess worst case scenario has truly changed. You're seeing more and more island hopping being conducted, where hackers will commandeer that teleworkers environment and then use that tunnel to essentially compromise the entire government agency or corporate network. And then they'll use the corporate network and the digital transformation of that corporate network to attack their constituency. This form of island hopping, where digital transformation is being commandeered, is becoming the mainstay of the tactics and modus operandi of cybercrime syndicates around the world.
Well, next, I'd like to explore a little bit about not only have we got distributed workers and all kinds of devices, but also the expansion of IoT devices and their data coming onto networks. We have 5G coming online, which is going to accelerate data flows from lots of directions. What would you say are kind of the key concerns about being able to keep those secure and at the same time that we don't fall behind technologically by over safeguarding?
So as noted in some of the research produced by VMware Carbon Black, IoT and OT has become a significant vector of infiltration for criminals and spies for that matter. When you just look at the OT dynamics of those types of technologies and facilities, typically the OT technologies are not micro-segmented from the primary network, which allows them to become a vector of infiltration into the primary network, thus compromising your physical existence as well as your digital existence. This is compounded though with telework. You have individuals, significant individuals, heads of government agencies, heads of corporations that are teleworking from home, and they're connected to a home network, which is connected to a myriad of IoT devices that have been employed by their children, their spouses, and the home itself. They're not segregating their laptops from those systems. They're even sharing the same network in most cases of those same systems. And this is compounded by the capacity for proximity attacks to be leveraged through the cameras in the TV, the microphones on the fridge, et cetera, et cetera. And so this type of digital home invasion that allow for someone to tunnel back into the corporate environment through IoT and OT is becoming more pronounced. And it's something that must be mitigated at a minimum by practicing digital distancing. What I mean by that is you've got two networks on your home router. One network should be dedicated just for your work device and for your mobile phone, and everything else should go on the other network. Coupled with the fact that nothing that is not hardened and or patched should have access to any of those networks on a regular basis. So much like you would do your laundry, you need to run around your home now and assure that everything has been hardened and patched before you do anything sensitive at work.
And lastly, obviously, organizations face a persistent challenge in recruiting the talent that they need among cybersecurity professionals and able to, guard against these malicious actors across all these devices. So how do you see, or where do you see opportunities to close those gaps or do more to fortify the education and training for cybersecurity professionals?
I think organizations should offer free cybersecurity certification training and cyber threat hunting certification training for any employee who desires to undertake it. I think they should mandate that system administrators and IT personnel from the IT directorate of that organization be trained in cybersecurity basics, as well as make sure that they're integrating their IT controls with the security controls. So at a minimum, they can share the visibility they have into traditional IT systems with the security team. That's a lot of what's missing. There is not this single pane of glass for visibility across your entire infrastructure, because many times you have these silos between IT and security. Those must go away, and you need more watchers on the wall. So I would recommend obviously training the sysadmins and IT personnel on security, but more importantly, assuring that security controls are integrated into those infrastructures.
Terrific. Well, Tom Kellermann, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your answers and appreciate your being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Great.